Okay, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for your introduction. First of all, I would like to stress the fact that I'm not an architect, but I'm a building physicist and building services engineer by training, so I don't have a background in medical sciences or healthcare. But about 10 years ago, I was orienting or focusing on a research topic for my PhD project, and I came across the great subject of dementia, and it struck me straight away. And I was captivated by this population, and that's when I said, I want to do something for this exceptional community, and that's what led to the presentation that I'm going to show you today, which will be on aging in place. And I hope you're all familiar with the term aging in place, which actually stands for living longer in your own home within the community. And what we already know is that the majority of people with dementia just age in place, and that's the preferred way of living. They want to stay in their own homes for as long as possible, but for some strange reason, especially in the Netherlands, people tend to think, and it's a stereotype way of thinking, is that people with dementia reside in nursing homes, but 2/3 of the people in the Netherlands do not, which is actually a small percentage compared to the Mediterranean countries I know. We all know that dementia has a severe impact on the ability to age in place because of specific reasons that we've been told about before on this conference, like cognition problems, memory problems, and problems with ADL. What can we do as a building community and engineers to help these people? Well, we have a wide array of solutions available, which are both the architectural modifications and solutions and the technologies that Franca Meiland spoke about in the previous plenary session, which I will not address. But the question always remains, how are we going to use these solutions to help people age in place and support the people with dementia and their family carers or their partners? Well, what we do know, and it's actually quite an old reference from 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that environmental interventions like home modifications and technologies constitute only a fraction of what is needed. Well, of course, that's an open door, but then again, it's important to mention. But there are some challenges, especially for the architects who have to design home modifications and adaptive houses. And what are these challenges? First of all, there are many existing design principles available, like homes need to be safe and secure. Homes need to have an open layout for visibility. Things need to look familiar. Well, that all sounds great, but it's kind of vague, and many architects have no idea how to interpret these principles and translate these principles into actual designs, and it's a very serious setback for finding the right solutions and have them implemented in practice. And most of all, most of these architects have no access to scientific databases. Of course, they have no subscription to PubMed and all these great databases, but many of the architects haven't had any training in finding the right evidence for creating evidence-based designs. And evidence-based design is a new terminology that's being used within the realm of architecture, which actually means that we use scientific proof or scientific evidence of all sorts to form the foundation of our design work. Another thing in practice that we come across is that carers and case managers ask for easy and cheap solutions. Well, that's another open door, because the cheaper effective solution actually is, the more willing people are to try it out in the field. So in order to deal with all these problems and challenges, we wanted to address the training and education part of this problem. And what we actually did in cooperation with the Dutch Alzheimer Society and with OTIP, which is actually an educational fund for the building services industry, was to come up with an evidence-based design of a demonstration dwelling. So why a demonstration dwelling? Well, you can bring people in without disturbing real occupants, that's the first, but also to have a three-dimensional discussion document. It's like a house where you can go for inspiration, for discussion, for new ideas, and just experience these home modifications in the field or in practice, instead of having to refer to paper articles and websites. We built this house. It was opened in April last year, and it's located in Woerden, which is a very small town, the central area of the urban region of the Netherlands, right in between Rotterdam, Amsterdam, and Utrecht City, so it's quite central. And it's a very small, typical Dutch house, 60 square meters, that was also founded by the fact that if you have this amount of square meters, you can get rent allowance from the state. Furthermore, it had to look attractive, and it had to be full of low-tech solutions. And what we actually did was doing a lot of desk research, having some sketches made, which you can actually see. I will take my laser pointer down here for having discussions in focus groups with representatives of Alzheimer, of people with Alzheimer's, and other types of experts. And what we actually did was draw some sketches, like the one you can see here, discuss it in a group, make amendments, make further amendments, more discussion, more amendments. And in the end, we came up with a layout of a dwelling, which was published this year in the Journal of Housing for the Elderly, which is a great journal because it publishes on housing and older people. It's one of the few journals in this world. And what we actually have, and I will show you a lot of pictures after this slide, is you have like the main entrance with a very small corridor, which is quite typical for the Netherlands, with a small restroom for guests, a big living room with a kitchen area and a seating area, a master bedroom, a small bathroom, and a spare bedroom that I will talk about later. But what you can see are these red lines, which actually represent sight lines. And sight lines mean that you have a lot of overview, and if people are panicky or are worried about where the partner is in the house, or they get lost, they have the visual ability to see where things are in the dwelling. And the red circle illustrates a circular corridor which can be created within the house that people who have restless behavior or so on can actually use for walking around and then coming back at the same position in the house. What I want to say is that this house is not like the truth. It's just a collection of ideas and low-tech interventions. We are not saying this house should be built all over the world because it provides the number one solution, but it's like a three-dimensional document where you can go for inspiration and just take whatever you like cherry picking, by case managers, by people with dementia, by caregivers, or by architects. Well, let's go inside. First of all, this room here, which is like an external meter cupboard. Oh no, it's actually a picture of the construction phase first. So we built it inside in an industrial plant or in a production hall because it was much easier with the like the fire brigade stuff and the municipal permits that you need to get. But it's like a construction inside an existing facility where we have more demonstration houses for other diseases and impairments. Next slide. So who expected to see a picture of a meter cupboard on a Alzheimer's conference? Well, this is our meter cupboard. And what we have in here is that it's like an external meter cupboard, because if you have service workers coming along, they don't have to go rummage through your own house. If you have people like males with Alzheimer's who like technology, they may go inside and fiddle with the technology, so we kept it an exterior position. And there are some other issues here, because we also use this house for discussions. So we have a storage space, as you can see here. It's like a bottle of chlorine or cleaning product. Sometimes you get the advice from an occupational therapist to take all your poisonous liquids away and just store them safely behind bars or behind a lock. And we want to have the discussion whether it's always a great idea to put everything out of sight and behind locks. I think it's an ethical discussion we should all have, whether it's totally feasible or not. What you see here with the with the blue light is an external gas shut-off valve. That when the carer leaves the house, the gas can be shut off. I don't know where to point there. This is our 3 pictures from the interior. It's in the central corridor near the front door. And what we did was put a curtain, very simple, 30 euros at a cheap department store that you can get to cover your jackets, your shoes, and the door itself, which should actually be effective in about 15% of cases of dementia for wandering behavior. If you place this door out of sight, people will not go look behind the curtain to look for the front door and exit then. They won't, because they expect the window to be behind, so they walk past it, and then the wandering behavior should be reduced. There is also this key lock or behind the corridor, which is like the total shut-off valve for the house. If someone leaves the house, like the caregiver, he or she can shut off the electricity of every potentially dangerous device in the house, except for the refrigerator, of course. But like kettles, water kettles, coffee machines, and so on can be shut off. I inserted this picture because it says something about the way doors open. If the doors are open, the front door itself is also put out of sight, and you create a natural walkway towards the bedroom, the master bedroom. And again, it hampers the sensation or the sense of having to exit. This is another picture from the interior. What you can see is a sliding door leading from the central kitchen or dining area towards the bathroom. And what you see is the toilet, and it actually has you create a visual sideline. It's not always possible to have that installed at home, but you do see it in Australian and Canadian nursing homes. And it's a way to maintain continence in older people. If they know where to find the bathroom, they will actually use it and go there without walking towards a bathroom, then forgetting about having to go to the toilet and return to their seat where they were seated. So that's a way how we deal with it, and we do it via quite broad sliding doors. More pictures of these sidelines that I was showing. This one is just a view from the central living room, and you can see straight into the spare bedroom. And this spare bedroom, I need to tell something about it. Normally people get one master bathroom, but there are too many older couples who do not sleep together, and it's really a taboo issue. And that's also something we wanted to address, that many people do not sleep together anymore, and they want to have 2 separate bedrooms, especially when a partner is experiencing incontinence or nocturnal unrest. And if you want the carer or the person with dementia to be able to sleep or rummage around, you need to have 2 separate bedrooms. But it can also be used as a timeout room or a hobby room or something positive or something negative. It's just the way you want to address it, of course. The living room itself is actually kept quite simple, not too much old-looking, like nostalgic furniture, but rather modern. And if you talk to people with dementia in the Netherlands, they all want modern furniture, not the old-fashioned ones, especially the people who age in place. 2 more pictures of the bathroom. Actually, the first one is taken right from the bedroom, the master bedroom. So you can see the toilet, which has a sideline, so you can actually use it. But there was some new research coming from Dresden in Germany, and it actually described that the sidelines work very well during daytime, but during nighttime there is not the visual sideline. So people actually go look for a toilet on a corridor. So that's why we have the second bathroom put in place, which is actually for guests. Because if you have guests walking around in your house, you do not want them to be confronted with personal belongings like incontinence materials, medication, or other personal belongings. So that's what you see here. There's just a separate, simple restroom or toilet for your visitors. Then, of course, there's one for the person who occupies the house itself. Quite simple. The lid is kept off because too many people put down the lid, and then when they're in a hurry, they sit on top of it, and then someone else has got to clean the mess. So we took it off. Again, the contrast here, white or black on white, which helps for people who have problems with their vision. There is this shower cabinet, which has a very special curtain, because the curtain cannot be pulled down. It's quite sturdy. I can hang on it with all of my weight. If people grasp it in some panicky reaction or, I don't know, some instinct, then it will not come down, so it cannot cause any mayhem. And of course, we put in a simple IKEA shower seat, because many people do not want to have a shower seat installed in their houses. They think it's too stigmatizing. And stigma is a thing that comes back time and time again. We have simple, very simple thermostats. You can only turn it around, and actually it can be pulled from 10 to 30, but we couldn't find devices which only have a very narrow bandwidth around 22, 20, 25, and that's it. We didn't find one of those on the marketplace, but that would be an ideal thermostat for people with dementia. And the main problem in practice is actually the delay in the system. If people operate or manipulate it, they might forget about having turned the button. We have a fish-eye camera. That's like modern technology, which you can operate by iPad for carers. And there is this kitchen area with some orientation clues, which is more like a tryout. Yeah, safety versus stigma. You often hear by occupational therapists that you need to shield off your electrical plug sockets. I don't think that's true. I don't think it makes any sense. I have not come across a single person with dementia who uses a pencil and sticks it into the plug socket. But it's something we keep advising, and I think it's a bad thing. So we put them in just to keep the discussion going on. There is this kitchen cupboard with a magnetic lock, and it has the same purposes. Why should we lock every single cabinet in our kitchen with dangerous knives, dangerous tools, dangerous mixers, cleaning agents, and so on? Whereas the majority of people with dementia do not drink cleaning agents, do not go stab someone else with a knife or set the house on fire with a lighter. So that's something we need to keep discussing and keep discussing time and time again. The kitchen area itself, we do cook on gas. Ooh, that's another taboo in the Netherlands. It's dangerous. But many people with dementia are actually used to cooking on gas in the Netherlands. It's our way of cooking. It's our familiar way of cooking. And the advantage is that you actually can see the gas flame on, whereas if you have something that is like electrical, it's always like touch and go. Let's see if it's on, and if it's not on, then you're lucky, else you burn your fingers. And there is like very easy ways of having shut-off valves in place. What we also have is an oven, and what happens in many houses, people accumulate a lot of goods over their lifespan, and we don't use the oven anymore, let's use it as another kitchen cabinet. And then someone buys a pizza, likes to turn up preheat the oven, and then the contents of the oven, I wouldn't say sets on fire, but starts to smoke and causes stench, and people panic about it. So we always advise people to keep the oven empty. There is the magnetic lock, the kitchen area in general, and we don't have a thermostatic valve like mixer taps. Thermostatic mixer taps, they can be quite complicated to use or operate. We kept them out, but we do have like a very cheap solution, which is only €5 if you get it yourself, and you won't scald your hands on warm water. It's actually quite simple. I think this is the semi-final slide. And then again, the living room. We did put some devices for light therapy in there, even though the evidence base is very weak, but we wanted to have the discussion going on about these devices because there are so many tools available, but the evidence, as I said, that it would stimulate day and night patterns and behavior is still quite weak. But we do have other things with patterns that may be caused by luminaries and that people can get hallucinations from it. So some people may actually respond quite negatively. And that's my final slide. It's a takeaway or a take-home quote from an American architect, and I love this quote a lot. It is, "We must be realistic. Alzheimer's is a disease of the mind, not of the home. The environment is not a treatment and it offers no cure, but many problems related to the disease can be lessened for the person with Alzheimer's disease and especially for the caregiver by making changes in the home environment." So next time you talk to an architect, think about the potential that this professional can bring to your life. Thank you.
Okay. I have a question for Joost as well about the timing of environments and choosing adapted homes for older people. What are your views about adapting homes or moving into smart homes before the onset of dementia?
Before the onset?
Before the onset.
Yeah, because when dementia is already present, I think it's quite risky to move people because it's so confusing if you move into another place. If you move prior to the onset, as you suggest, then it's a different story. But there's two types. If you have adaptive houses, which mainly address, and I'm sorry to say, people with mobility impairments, then that's all fine. But the majority of problems faced by people with Alzheimer's or dementia, of course, not related to mobility per se. So it's always a gamble whether the modified house will fit the needs. If you talk about smart home technologies, I'm actually quite critical about the use of these home automation systems because some of the functionalities work very well, as we've seen in the previous session, like monitoring, fall detection. But the people with dementia often do not fully understand what the technology inside their houses actually means or implies. So then you get the ethical dilemmas that we've been shown as well. So I have mixed feelings about whether to move or not, because you also run the risk of people being taken out of their own societies and neighborhoods where they have their own social network, which is so important.